It's time for the Fiend Prince to fight. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and welcome to episode 2 of Sandland. My reaction of it, at least. So I'm very excited to bring this into the full schedule now. I did a first impression of this not long ago at all, like maybe a couple weeks. And you may be wondering, okay, you've had other stuff on your list. Why are you bringing this in so quickly? Well, the answer is simply I'm just that hyped for it at the moment. I just really need to see more of this. Like, you don't understand. I said this in the first reaction. I'm saying it again here. I read the manga to this. I don't read a lot of manga. And, like, I used to read more when I was, like, growing up, like, middle school, high school. I read manga more then, but somewhere along the line I kind of fell out of it and I just started like not being able to enjoy it. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Might be something to do with my autism. I don't know. But I've talked about this before, but simple story is I find no emotion in it. Like I don't feel anything reading manga. And for most comics, just even Western comics, the same is there. I don't feel anything reading a comic or manga. It doesn't do anything for me emotionally. I'm not interested. It doesn't interest me when I'm reading. I don't feel joy, I don't feel sadness, I don't feel anger, I don't feel anything. Yet all those emotions are things I could feel like watching the same content in animation. Now, like I said though, I have read all of Sandman. It's short, it's not like super long or anything, but I have read it all back in the past. Because it was printed in Shonen Jump magazine, which they used to sell in stores here in America. I don't think they do anymore. Um, but I would get those all the time when I went to the store with my parents and stuff. And it's like, so I read Sandland through that, and I I always enjoyed it, and it's been, if I'm being honest, a long time. When I found out this was being made into an anime, I was excited though, because I'm a casual Dragon Ball fan, and so it's like I'm already familiar with Akira Toriyama's work in that regard, and it's been a long time. I didn't remember all the details, so I wanted to see more of Sandland again. And when I watched the first episode, it's like it was not only just nostalgia hitting me, which it definitely was part of that, but it wasn't only that. It was also just like, this is good. This is hype. I love this story. Because you have this world that had been ravaged by war, had been completely destroyed and turned into like this endless desert. Water is a scarce but priceless resource, so much so that the king of Sandland is selling it to the people at exorbitantly high prices that most people can't afford. And his special deals is so minimal in terms of how much is actually cut off of that exorbitant price that it doesn't really do anything. It's horrific greed. And Toriyama, of course, designed the king perfectly in this regard, making him look like, a fat slob. It really. It's a common design for like royalty who are living like fat and happy while the average common people are, starving and doing everything they can just to scrounge up as little food as they have. It's a very common trope, and Toriyama just pulls it off so well with his style. And I really like that we have both sides of this too, with the humans and the demons. Both sides need water to survive. And the demons aren't as bad as the humans' stories would have you believe, but they are tricksters. And we get to see how they're still coming together in this regard, between Beelzebub and Sheriff Rao, in order to find this spring to get water for everyone. And of course, Thief is there too because he was kind of forced into it. um, it's just a really solid plot, and like I joked around in the Discord server about this being Toriyama's best work, basically saying it's better than like Dragon Ball and everything. But I kind of believe that. Because here's my issue. Dragon Ball doesn't have a solid plot. It's pretty much just like, oh, villain comes to take over slash destroy the world. Goku has to get stronger to defeat villain. Goku defeats villain. Sometimes Gohan. Very rarely, but sometimes Gohan. That's pretty much all of Dragon Ball. Whether it's the original, whether it's Dragon Ball Z, whether it's GT, whether it's Super, that's pretty much it. They'll occasionally throw in like, oh, here's a tournament, here's another universe, stuff like that. But it's like, in the end, that's what it all comes down to. It's simplistic, it's basic, and it doesn't really have much otherwise. And for some people, that's great, but I like I like a story with more of a story to it, more depth, more intrigue, more character. I want a world to feel more fulfilling to experience. And I feel like I get that with Sandland more than I do with Dragon Ball. And don't get me wrong, Dragon Ball, I've said before, is iconic for a reason. Toriyama's work on Dragon Ball, like, inspired so many other manga and anime. It inspired the world, not just manga and anime. It inspired everything. It's undeniably one of the most important pieces of media ever. And I will stand by that. But that doesn't necessarily mean I have to personally enjoy it, like, above everything else. I acknowledge its importance, but personally, it's not as much my thing. And I'm still casually a fan of it. Like, I like certain arcs of it, and I like characters a lot. Like, certain characters, like Vegeta or Bulma or Trunks, basically that entire family, are great. But it's like, just in general, it's not as much my cup of tea as other series are. And Sandland, in terms of another Akira Toriyama series, because it's shorter, because it's so much like compact comparatively, it allows it to, have a more like focused story. It's short. It's exactly as long as it needs to be. And because of that, it allows the story to take center stage. The characters might not be as iconic as Dragon Ball, but the story, I feel, works so much better, and because of that, it connects more with me personally. And it might not be the same for everyone. That's fine. I'm completely fine with that. But yeah, for me, this is genuinely, I would say, better. And mind you, this is going off of reading the manga when I was a kid, basically. And the little bit I remember of it, and plus what I've seen now in episode 1 of this. So keep in mind that I'm not even going on like 100% knowledge of how all of this goes down, because I don't remember everything. But nonetheless, like that first episode really impressed me. And for those who are just tuning in, definitely go back and watch the first episode. But we are doing the dub because it's just, even though I don't necessarily think the sub for this is going to be bad, it's an Akira Toriyama series, and I just feel like I have to watch the dub for that. It's like, it's just, I think it's partially because the sub for the Dragon Ball shows are just so bad. I'm sorry, I mean nothing against the voice actors, but none of the voices fit the characters. Maybe it's because of that I can just not stand watching any Dragon Ball in sub because I can't stand the voices. But it's because of that I come to kind of associate Akira Toriyama's work with, the characters speaking English. And so I had to check this out in the English, and yeah, I really like the voices. I have heard what they sound like in the Japanese, and I very much prefer the English. I do, I will say that. Having heard both, I do still prefer the English. Though the Japanese isn't as bad. At least from the little bit I've heard. I only checked out a little bit. I basically checked out one reaction on YouTube, and it's just like kind of went with that. So it's like what was shown in there is kind of what I went with to determine that. Anyway, there's also, interestingly enough, a Sandland game coming to PS4 and PS5 at the end of this month. I played a little bit of the demo on my PS5, and it's pretty interesting. It's pretty good. You don't get any story stuff for the demo. It's just like, oh, you get to like go around, explore, fight some dinosaurs and bandits and stuff. But it's like, yeah, it seems pretty interesting. It gives you just like a taste of what the gameplay is like, basically, without actually going into story or any depth of detail. And I mean, it was pretty fun. I fought a tank. I mean, I'm playing as like Beelzebub with Thief and Rao as like, my assists, and I'm just like running around punching a tank. Yeah, it's pretty fun. I'm definitely hoping to get the full game when it comes out, or maybe not right when it comes out, but still, as soon as I can, because that's definitely one I would love to play. Maybe for the channel, it's possible. Um, but yeah, for as excited as I am for this, I have talked quite a bit. I guess I just wanted to recap my thoughts going into this series and kind of just go over my thoughts after having seen the first episode and everything too. But there is more on this channel besides just this. There are 2 shows every weekday, Monday through Friday. And we also do reactions to YouTube content on Monday, as well as gaming streams on Wednesday. Currently, we are streaming Momodora Moonlit Farewell, but we will be finishing up with that pretty soon. So, afterwards, we'll probably be moving on to some PS5 stuff. We also have movies every Saturday and Sunday. They're recorded earlier in the week, but I upload them on the weekends. And movies and YouTube stuff are all taken from donation rewards as well. So they are your choices for what I am reacting to. But all of that being said, let's just get on with the reaction and see what episode 2 of Sandland has in store for us. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Another really great episode. Yeah, this is like it's been the case sometimes where sometimes the first episode will be like really hype just to get viewers to, tune in again. But then it'll start like slipping down a little bit because it's like, oh, we just need to get people really excited for the first episode, but the rest of it may not need to be as exciting. But no, this was great. Like, we stole a fucking tank from the king's army. That's pretty ballin'. And the way they tipped it up there to shoot them down at the end, oh, that was great. But yeah, this is not only continuing the story, not only introducing the king's army and everything, but it's really setting things up for where a lot of this is going to go. Because this journey is not just going to be them wandering around. They're going to have to deal with enemies, and that includes, this military force. So getting a good feel for that right here, and just also seeing how much water they're hoarding. Like, just on that ship alone, that huge ass water tank, it's like, come on. And that really, like, showcases the greed and just terrible nature that the king has, willing to hoard all that water, and despite already being rich, forcing people to pay a metric shit ton of zenny just to get more, just to get any. It's really fucked up, and we're really seeing that here. Because them going after the tank in general is not, like, necessarily a negative thing. So the water is definitely where the bad aspect of the king's army comes in, because them going after the tank after finding out it's stolen is honestly pretty normal. Like, it's like, oh yeah, we find out our tank is stolen, it's like, yeah, we're gonna go after that just makes sense. Especially after they had been tricked by the person commandeering the tank. So they have to find another way to showcase how evil and fucked up the king and his army are, and the water tank is an excellent way to do that. We also get to see a lot of the strength and different kind of, I guess you could say, abilities that demons have. Their sharp hearing. We get to see Thief's disguise and everything. We get to see how strong they are as they tip the tank and everything. It's like getting to see some of these demon traits is really cool as well. It develops two of our main characters and showcases that they have a lot to give towards this alliance. They're not just, motivated. They actually have something they can put in. And that's good to see. We also learn more about Rao in this episode. Learn how he about his time in the army and everything, and how during the war he held many different positions, but that his personal favorite was driving tanks. That it was something that I guess he enjoyed comparatively to other stuff that, based on the opening, probably traumatized him quite a bit. So the driving aspect, it's a very strong part of this for sure. Because a lot of the visuals that are associated with this series have always been like them in like the tank or other vehicles or whatnot. Like I mentioned in the video game, you have a multitude of vehicles you can bring out via the capsules. Like in Dragon Ball, they have the little capsule things that you can throw out and like contain stuff in. So you have like vehicles you can throw out in the game and everything, and now in this we've now had our second vehicle brought in, and it's like, yeah, it's really cool to get to see that. And talking about the opening, it was great. It was just I like the visual aspect of showing the characters like in a like a sand form and everything, and different like aspects to their height and size and everything, like showing like the characters smaller in front of like the crumbling giant like traumatized Rao made of sand. It's like just so many great visual choices. And I don't think I talked about this last time, so let's talk about it here. This series is CG, and it's notably obvious. But here's the thing, and this has been a thing that's been brought up by a lot of people in recent years. CG is in anime or animation in general is not necessarily bad, and it just depends on how it's handled and how well it's done. And there are some people who like to complain and bitch about CG just being there just because it's there. And like won't even give a series a chance if it's in CG, which is stupid as fuck. Um, they'll automatically say that it looks bad just because it's CG, and it's like that's just disingenuous as fuck. Because it's like, and multiple people have pointed this out. I think one of the more notable ones is Jeff Thew from the Mother's Basement channel. I think he made an entire video pointing out that CG in anime has actually gotten exceptionally better over the years, and that nowadays complaining about CG in anime is not really a valid thing to complain about. I think he even compared it to the dub versus sub debate, which is also not really a valid complaint anymore. Um, so it's like it just and it especially makes no sense to me because I watch the series, I look at this and it's like this is goddamn beautiful. Like this is so well animated. It looks great. The way the characters move, the way creatures move in the background, the way the ships and vehicles move, everything looks amazing. And I feel like this is just exactly the right kind of style that was needed for this series. It looks absolutely fantastic. And so it's like I haven't necessarily heard anyone complaining about this. In fact, I've actually heard the opposite. I think it was Jeff Thew actually, who I saw on Twitter, who said that this was like the best CG of 2024 so far in anime. He was comparing it to some other anime that had come out that was using CG. I don't remember what it was, but he was like saying like this was the best CG of 2024 so far, and was like just complimenting how it looked. But he didn't say anything else about his thoughts on the series, which is good because no spoilers. But I'm really excited once this does finish because this is ongoing. This series hasn't actually finished airing yet, but I'm excited when it does and when I finish watching for any anime YouTubers who put up videos on it, whether it be Giguk or Mother's Basement or anyone else. It's like I definitely want to see people's thoughts on this because again, so far I'm loving it. And yeah, like I said in the pre thoughts and even during the reaction, there is a lot of that is nostalgia. And the opening definitely hit me like emotionally because of the nostalgia. But it's also just really good. Like even ignoring the nostalgic aspect of it, like just taking off the nostalgia glasses, the quality outside of that is just fantastic. Like Akira Toriyama's storytelling is great here. And this is why I said like I find this to be better than Dragon Ball because of stuff like that. Because there's actual depth to this story and it makes it feel more, real, for lack of a better way to put it. I'm just more invested in this than honestly I think I ever was in Dragon Ball. And like I talked about how like the characters in Dragon Ball are more iconic and memorable, and sure, but that's nothing negative to say about the characters in this. Sheriff Rao, Thief, Beelzebub, they're great characters. They really stand out. And I really love what they're doing with them in this. It's like I've kind of like when thinking about this series, sometimes I've referred to Beelzebub as my Beelzebub baby. I'm not even kidding you, and I'm not really what I would say. I'm not embarrassed to admit to that, but it's just I love him so much. Like I adore him just so goddamn much. It's like you ever just like have a character who even like before you really like get into the series too far, it's like you just like are just so in love with them. You just like care so greatly for them. and want to see like the best things happen for them. It's like that happens every now and again where you see a series where it's just like you just are instantly like on board with a character. You're just instantly hooked into them, and you just are like almost protective of them. And like there's been multiple characters throughout the years that have definitely done that for me, and Beelzebub is absolutely one of them. Like he is baby. He is absolutely baby. And I am like so drastically in love with him. He is adorable, he's funny, he's smart and clever, he's just an absolute joy to watch. Like he brings me genuine happiness seeing him on screen here. And that's again, I love the other characters too. Thief is really funny and goofy, and I love how just like bitchy he is about everything. Rao is smart and patient. He's intelligent and is clearly having a good time hanging out with Beelzebub and Thief. And he's definitely the straight man in the group, but he's not like ever annoyed with them. He actually finds their bickering kind of fun. You can clearly see it in his expressions. Um, when he's like just watching them like argue and just goof around. It's adorable. It's like they're like a little found family, and I love it. You know how much I love that trope. You know how much that trope means to me. So it's like, yeah, it's just I adore all three of them really, but especially Beelzebub. He is absolute baby, and just I love him. I just love him so goddamn much. And I love this series so goddamn much. It's doing everything right for me so far. Um, and it's really interesting too because usually I would think this kind of thing wouldn't be my type of show with just the genre, I guess you could say it is. The ideas of it. It's like normally like with a show like this I probably wouldn't be that invested in it. But I don't know. I think it's Akira Toriyama's writing and character work here that is carrying this for me. Plus just the designs of everything. Like it's just so good that it makes me invested in a series that I wouldn't otherwise be invested in. And that's impressive to me. And it really really makes me sad that he passed away before this series was released. And I'm sure he got to see at least some of it prior to its release and everything, prior to his passing. But I really wish he had gotten to, actually see this. Because between this series and the upcoming Dragon Ball Daima, like these are the last things he worked on. And these are like the final points of his involvement in this legacy. These are big deals. And I really wish that Sandland was getting more attention. It seems everyone's talking about Dragon Ball Daima, but Sandland just it seems to be like still very niche, honestly. And it's disappointing because it's like this was also his work. And people are ignoring it because it's not Dragon Ball. And it really feels sad to me that's something that he did put so much effort and love into, clearly just doesn't get the same amount of attention. Hopefully this will start to gain a surge in viewers and fans by the end of its run and maybe even after. Hopefully, if some bigger anime YouTubers talk about it as well, that'll get a lot of other people to check it out. But I really feel disappointed by that because it's like this deserves all the love and attention. And Toriyama deserved that. Like, this is his work too. This is just as much of his baby as Dragon Ball is. Just because Dragon Ball was obviously the more popular one and went further and, had all of this, like, constant media, doesn't mean that this didn't matter to him too. This absolute, or it doesn't mean that it didn't matter to him either. This definitely mattered to him. You know what I'm trying to say. This definitely mattered to him too, and just like other stuff he's done too, like Doctor Slump, or even his work on like Dragon Quest. It's like all of this was still his work, and you have to give credit to all of it. And yeah, I think this is something that, for me at least, is proving to be what I'm gonna think of the most about him on a more consistent basis. So, in the meantime, though, uh, there are other there are other things on this channel too to watch. Though I know I hyped this up so goddamn much, but we have a lot of great hype shows we are currently reacting to. Between Monday and Friday, we have 2 shows every day. We're also reacting to YouTube stuff on Mondays, as well as doing gaming live streams on Wednesdays. We are currently streaming Momodora Moonlit Farewell. I almost said the wrong one. We are currently streaming Momodora Moonlit Farewell, but we're getting close to the end. So we might be finishing up in 1 or 2 more streams. And after such, we will probably be going on to the PS5 and starting to do some games there. So, yeah. More info about that will come as it comes, but we also have movies every Saturday and Sunday. We have a lot of stuff on this channel for you to check out if you haven't already. A lot of different shows will keep coming in the future, and there's just going to be so much variety, and I'm very excited to see what more we get into as the year progresses. So, thank you all so much for tuning in. Tell me in the comments below what you thought of episode 2 of Sandland. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.